very good morning and welcome back to the Autódromo Internacional de Algarve, located just over 20 kilometres outside the city of Portugal. And what a wonderful setting it is. Here we have the track on your screen, the 4.5 kilometre, 6 left turns, 9 right turns, and what a ribbon of tarmac it is. It's our first time here since 2016. The European Talent Cup wasn't even born when the last time we visited here, and they've got 15 laps of this magnificent circuit to tackle.
Yeah, so going to be a challenge for them, that's for sure. The first time they've been here, they won't have any setup info for these bikes at all. And incidentally, these bikes, they are the loudest things on earth. They are seriously loud. Me and Elliot, foolishly, we didn't bring any earplugs, rear defenders with us, and we were stood down in pit lane the other day as they all went out for one of their QP sessions, and almost got our ears blown off. It was ridiculous, but anyway, they're certainly spectacular out on track. We saw quite a few little interesting things. The Cuna de Campeones boys, they were all going out together in qualifying and getting a toe off each other and stuff like that. But it was quite interesting as they caught up to other riders, because it looked like it was already a race.
Yeah, and let's have a look back at Estoril then, and it really was all about one rider, and that man was David Alonso, the number 80 there out front. He dominated proceedings, took pole, took race 1 victory as riders crashed out behind him. That was Zonta van den Gorberg, the number 84, as Angel Piqueras had a disaster. His engine or something went wrong with his bike, and that was a turn 1 incident on the last few laps, or maybe on the last lap, but it was all about that man David Alonso, who took victory, and he took victory again in race 2, but it wasn't quite as easy for him. His teammate Ivan Ortola was right there with him, but a jump start from the number 48 at this moment here. He was looking to stay on there. He had 2 long lap penalties to take. There he is taking his first one, and then he had another one the lap after, which eventually put him down to 9th place, so unfortunate for last year's runners-up. But no such worries for the number 80 and David Alonso in Estoril. And in Portimao, Jack, there's no such problems either. He's been first or second in every session. The only session he wasn't first was qualifying 2, where he was second. And it's, yeah, he's looking imperious, to be frank. Yeah, they've got a job on to try and beat him today. Yeah, they certainly have. It's in fact actually that QP2 session, although he wasn't first, his time from the morning was quicker than what he did in the afternoon, so that is why he is still on pole position. Of course, as we just see the info about the weather here, it's actually cooled off by a degree. It's 30 degrees now with 37 degrees of track temperature. Still pretty hot though. I certainly wouldn't want to be out there riding motorcycles in this heat. My fitness is nowhere near good enough for that. But these boys certainly are, and they need to be, because this really is a challenging circuit. 15 corners of undulating ribbon of tarmac. There he is then, your poleman, rolling up to the number 1 spot on the grid. And we'll be hearing from him shortly about his thoughts after qualifying on Sunday. And here he is.
I am so happy because we do the pole position again. It was difficult because of the climate, but finally we could do the second. We do second, but also happy. And well, now we are ready to fight for the race, and we will see tomorrow how we do it.
There he is, David Alonso, your not world championships, or your European Talent Cup championship leader, just getting some refreshments on board and getting some last minute advice from that man there, the former 125cc world champion Nico Troll. Not a bad man to get some advice off ahead of their 3rd race of the year. Perfect points tally, 50 points from 2 races, first in Estoril, and like we said, he is all set to take his 3rd straight victory, but he's gonna not have it all his own way. Zonta van den Gorberg on the second grid slot. I think he's on the second grid slot. Anyway, he is on...
Yeah, he is on the second. Sorry, yeah, he is on the second grid slot there. Zonta van den Gorberg in second, as we say. And he's been looking pretty quick the whole weekend, riding for the Team Superb. He's only 14 years old, and he's looking like he's got some of that talent that his dad, a former Grand Prix racer, Jürgen van den Gorberg, did have. So, you know, he's looking really good. Unfortunately, in Estoril, he didn't finish that first race after a little crash with a bump at another rider. I believe it was turn 2. So we get to see what his full potential is, but I think from what he's shown this weekend, it's going to be quite high.
Yeah, I couldn't quite see him there on the grid, so I panicked a little bit. But no, there he is, lining up second. He'll be hoping he can challenge David Alonso, and I think it was turn 3, Jack, a massive bottleneck. There's a load of riders trying to take the same line, and he was the unfortunate one to crash out, but made amends, like you say, in the second race and finished 4th, just off the podium. So he's in the perfect position to take his first podium of the year. Incidentally, the top 2 there, as we saw, will be in the Red Bull Rookies this year. So look out for them in that championship, which kicks off in Austria when the MotoGP World Championship heads there in August.
Yeah, one thing we need to say about Zonta van den Gorberg as well is in warm-up this morning, actually, we're not too sure what happened to him. He disappeared from the timing sheets. We believe he had a little tip-off in Sector 2, but we actually never found out as we had to come straight up to the commentary box. But anyway, he seems to be all good. He's on the grid and ready to go.
Here's your third place man, Alberto Ferrandez, and he's liked P3, hasn't he? There you can see 3rd in Estoril in race 1 and 3rd again in Estoril race 2. He was the only rider in the top 11 incidentally to go faster in Q2 in the warmer conditions. So we'll see how he goes in his debut season. It was a great start to him in Estoril, very impressive from the reigning Spanish Prix Moto 4 champion.
Yeah, it was a great start for him, but actually in race 2 he was forced to drop a position because he drafted second place to the line. He came across the line in second place, but he used a little bit of the track that he wasn't meant to, so they did him on track limits and he dropped back to 3rd place.
Here is the Japanese rider Daijiro Sako, and Daijiro, he is named after the late Daijiro Kato, his fellow countryman, the number 74. He also crashed in Estoril, turn 1, incidentally, with his teammate. Shame for those Cunha de Campeones guys, but he made amends by finishing well in race 2. He was 17th last year in the European Talent Cup with 2 podiums, so he'll be hoping he can add to that tally today in the only race of the day for the Hawkers European Talent Cup guys.
Yeah, and of course another man with a load of talent. He was a Red Bull rookie last year. Finished 19th in that championship, but I'm sure there's a lot more to see from him. Here's the man in 5th place, Alvaro Carpe, on the Hawkers Finetwork Arrow team bike. Very colourful delivery, very nice to look at and very easy to spot. Anyway, he was a man that he finished, sorry, he actually DNF'd in race 2. He had a little crash, a little tip-off, but he seems to be going relatively well here. 5th place on the grid, a little bit better than his QP performance from Estoril of 8th.
Yeah, going well here is Alvaro Carpe, the 13-year-old from Spain. We're about to take a look at Marco Morelli in 6th place. He incidentally was 4th and 13th in Estoril. We had there he is, the man 6th place on the grid. He was 4th in race 1 despite starting from 27th after a grid penalty. So to come from 27th on the grid to 4th is, well, nothing short of spectacular really. He finished 13th in the second race, so not quite as good, but nevertheless he's starting 6th today, so he'll be hoping he can challenge for at least a podium.
Yeah, definitely. And another man that will probably be hoping to challenge for a podium is the person that heads up row 3 in 7th place, Adrian Cruces on the Cunha de Campeones bike. Another one of these Cunha de Campeones boys. The number 10, unfortunately, he crashed in race 1 with Marcos Ruda. You saw it in the highlights package there. It was just that collection, that little incident at turn 1 where I think it was actually Cruces' bike that flew out to the side of the racetrack. But anyway, no injuries. He's back here with us again in Portimao, and he's looking to make amends. He's got a good qualifying position, so we'll see where he can get up to in this race.
Yeah, that was a nasty turn 1 crash we saw in Estoril. Thankfully, both of the riders walked away from it because it was a hefty one. Going down to turn 1 is not something you want to do at Estoril because it's quick into the braking zone. But yeah, like you say, Jack, he was 8th in 2019 ETC with Estrella Galicia, so he's moved to the Cuna de Campiones outfit for 2020, and he picked up 2 podiums last year. So another man with podium pedigree at the front of the grid as we look at Marco Tapper, the number 13 and 13-year-old from Spain. He was 6th and 7th in Estoril, like you can see there on your screen. 7th in qualifying, so just a little bit behind that, but nevertheless it's another row 3 start, and he'll be right in the mix, you'd think, for the podium battle.
Yeah, definitely. He was right in the mix last time. We saw that big battle in race 2 for 2nd place, and he was all the way in that. He kept making moves and getting moves put on him, but anyway, he ended up 7th in that race. Here's Ivan Ortola, the Red Bull rookie for this year. He's riding for the Aspar team. He's teammates to the man on pole, David Alonso. Of course, he finished 2nd in the ETC last year, and it wasn't the best start to his first round. As you saw in the highlights package, he had 2 long lap penalties to take, but a 2nd and a 9th, despite those 2 long lap penalties, it was still a pretty good race. He actually led it before taking those 2 penalties. So, you know, he's a man that won't be worried about trying to run at the front. He's just got to get through a few of them again.
It was a shame for Ivan Ortola, but let's have a look at the grid in your pole sitter again. David Alonso followed by Van den Gorberg and Ferrandez. Row 2 is headed by Daijiro Sacco with Carpe and Morelli making out the row 2. Row 3 is Cruces, Tapia and that man we've just spoke about, Ortola.
Yeah, starting from row 4 is Angel Piqueras. Watch out for him coming through. He's pretty quick. From Rodriguez and Vaya on row 4. Row 5 is Harrison Voigt, Marcos Ruda and Garcia in 15th. Row 6 is Farioli, Milan and Volpi.
Looking back to row 7, it's Alan Mansil, Johan Detweiler and Ton. Row 8 is Berta, Pedineu and Rolston on row 8. Row 9 is Meyer, Sandoval and Fockert.
Yeah, and then on row 10 we have Charil, Tyler Scott and Bly Trias in 30th place. Row 11 is Bartolome Perrin, Sergio Bernal and Milan Paulek. And then row 12 is Amaury Misera, Damien Jigalov and Torin Collins, the Canadian.
Yeah, row 13 is Lapierre and Oleg Paulek. 38 strong rider Hawkers European Talent Cup fielders. They're about to get underway on their warm-up lap.
Yeah, we can hear them just revving up their bikes off down to the right of our commentary position. Can't quite see. There we go, there comes the noise. And that means we are going racing very, very shortly. Of course, this circuit, a pretty spectacular one for these Hawkers ETC bikes. Not too much horsepower, pretty flat out. We saw them in the hot conditions. It's a little bit cooler actually for this race than it was in the 2-1 we just saw. But in the hot conditions, these guys struggled a little bit. They've got to carry lots of corner speed, and when that track gets greasy, they do tend to struggle just keeping that momentum up.
I think we're all set for a cracking battle here in Portimao for these youngsters. These really are the next generation of riders you're going to see in the next few years on the MotoGP World Championship scene, as is with the Junior Moto3 World Championship too. But they've got to stop that man. There's got to be a plan in place to stop David Alonso, because he's been superior once again, like we've said. And they've got to ruffle a few feathers down into turn 1, or at least on the opening lap, because as we saw in Estoril, Jack, if he gets that opening lap without any issues, he could and probably will put the hammer down and clear off, which the riders don't want to see, because he's already bringing him in with confidence, and they don't want to give him an extra added dose, because the title could soon be slipping away from the riders in the chasing pack, as we see Zonta van den Gorberg leading the riders down the hill and back up the hill.
Yeah, and speaking of the title and championship standings there, you see them on the right of your screen. And of course, David Alonso does lead it from the young Ferrandez and his teammate Ortola, not Ferrandez's teammate, Alonso's teammate, Ortola in 3rd place. Look at them, a few of them just practicing the long lap. Obviously, they won't have done it yet. And we saw last time out, actually, Ortola, when he had to go for those 2 long lap penalties, he almost had to break himself and went into the gravel. So maybe a little practice lap isn't a bad idea.
Yeah, it's probably something worth mentioning, actually, the long lap penalty. It was introduced last year. Instead of giving the riders a right through penalty, which really does put an end to their race, it's now a long lap penalty, whether it be 1, 2, however the stewards feel is necessary, they'll do that, and then they'll come back, and that'll have been the penalty served. But hopefully we won't see any of the riders having to do that today, as we focus in on the number 80, David Alonso. Can he make it a hat-trick of wins at the start of the 2020 Hawkers European Talent Cup season? His rivals will be hoping not, but he will be hoping he will. We'll soon be getting underway as he rolls into P1. There's Zonta van den Gorberg and Alberto Ferrandis on the front row.
Yeah, watch that young man, Zonta van den Gorberg, looking like he's going to be a real weapon in this race.
Here we go then. We've seen all the riders line up on the grid. We'll see that red flag hopefully move out of the way in a matter of seconds. There it goes, the green flag waves at the back. The red lights will come on at the top of your screen. And we are go here in Portimao, and it's Zonta van den Gorberg with the launch. What a start from the Dutchman. That's exactly what he'll have been looking for, but it's a long run down into turn 1 and down the hill, and David Alonso's got the inside. Will he get the lead? I think he will. And then who's that going around the outside? I think it's...
I think it might be Alvaro Carpe.
Yeah, I think
trying to go around the outside.
No, it's Marco Morelli, I think it is. Marco Morelli, what a start from 6th on the grid for the Australia Galicia Talent Team rider. I thought Zonta van den Gorberg was going to get the whole shot, but it's David Alonso in 2nd, and van den Gorberg, I think, has dropped to 3rd. But what a start from the front row, and what a start from row 2 from Marco Morelli. He leads going down into turn 5. Maybe not for long though, because David Alonso is making his move up into P1. There he goes. They've got to fight straight back now on the Spaniard if he isn't going to win this race. We come up round down into turn 7, and then it's turn 8, and Alonso's already stretching them. This is not good news for the European Talent Cup riders as we rise over the hill.
Yeah, not good news at all, but one thing is good news. There's no jump start, so Marco Morelli, that rocket ship start he made, it was completely legitimate. So let's see if he can get in and amongst it. As we see in 3rd place, is that Ferrandis? I'm not quite, it is Ferrandis. He's recovered after a little bit of a slow start off the front row of the grid, but anyway, back up into 3rd. Where is Zonta van den Gorberg? I think he's in 5th with, that's one Lacuna de Campione's bikes trying to go up the inside of him. Sacco, Dajiro Sacco, so he's died up the inside. And Ortola's just dived up the inside of the pair of them. So Ortola, from starting 9th on the grid, he's already up to 4th. We did say it wouldn't take him too long, and there he is. He's already through into 4th.
Yeah, he can see his teammate out front, and he does not want his teammate to win another race. So Ortola's got some work to do. He's done some hard work already, as you say, starting from 9th. He's already up to 4th, so great work on the opening lap for the 15-year-old Spaniard. But they're chasing David Alonso, the 14-year-old Colombian. He's out front. It's Slipstream City time as they pass our commentary box window. Ferrandis looks like he's pulling out of the Slipstream for 3rd place, going into 2nd. There he is, the number 54 under the 95, and it looks like he's got the job done, and he's now taken over the baton to chase after David Alonso, but the gap is already up to 3/10 as we see a rider down. That is the number 72 of
Oscar Almanacil. So it's a disaster for the young 15-year-old. He's already crashed out in this race, not what he was looking for. As we go back to the front, David Alonso, he's already pulled a gap. I'm not quite sure how big that is. It's about half a second already, as Alberto Ferrandis seems to have moved his way up past the 95. And speaking of that, the number 48 of Ivan Ortola moves past as well. So Ortola up into 3rd. He's making short work of these guys, watching his teammate out front.
Yeah, this is exactly what happened in race 1 at Estoril. David Alonso started from pole, got ahead on the first lap and just edged clear of the chasing pack as they battled it out. So what we need really, or what the chasing pack need, is to just keep in line with each other. And we've got a red flag, I think it's flashing upon our timing series. Red flag, I think that's for the crash of Oscar Almirala. Hopefully he's okay, but we've got a red flag here in Portimao, so the riders will slow down and go back into pit lane.
Yeah, so nice steady lap into pit lane for the riders there. And red flag situation, of course, will bring you more information as soon as we have it. We do see the bike there of Oscar Almanacil over at the side of the circuit. We hope he's all okay. Of course, we have all the necessary medical officials here, so if there is anything up, he will be fine.
Yeah, the track guys, track service guys will be doing an outstanding job as always to get everything sorted. The bike doesn't look too battered. He's obviously gone down somewhere. Not sure whereabouts that is, but yeah, fingers crossed everything's okay for the number 72 as the riders roll back into pit lane. And that might be a godsend for, as we see him taken over on a stretcher. not good news for Almoral as the Cunha de Campione's team look on.
Yeah, and of course we'll keep you updated with any information we do receive. For the other riders though, this is a chance for them to get back into the box. If there was anything up with their motorcycles or they weren't too happy with the way it was feeling or running, this is the time now for the teams to get that information from them and they can make any necessary changes. One man that was surely pretty happy with how things were going was Ivan Otolo, who's already up into second place as we just look to see where the incident was that brought out the red flag.
I think that's at the top of the hill as they come out of turn 8 and heading over into turn 9. I might be wrong, but that's where it looks like. So that's not sure whereabouts the Spaniard has gone down. Thankfully, it looks like he's talking to the marshals, who, like we say, will be doing a sterling job as always to get.
Yeah, it seems as though there is some communication going on between the riders and the marshals there. Of course, they'll be taking all the necessary precautions to make sure that Oscar is okay. And as we say, we'll bring you updates as we do receive them.
So yeah, this will be a time for the riders, as you say, to go in, and so it's turn 13. I was wrong.
Yeah, it looks like possibly just on the change of direction there. Hopefully we have more information to tell you in just a few moments' time. But anyway, as we look back at what happened in those first couple of laps, David Alonso, of course, he made his way through to the front and looked to be fairly comfortable. He actually set the fastest sector of anyone, and on that second split just before the red flag was brought out. So it seemed as though he had found his rhythm pretty quickly. Another one that made a good start was Marco Tapia. He did actually get up to about, he's actually up into 4th place by the time that the flag came out. So it was a good start for him on the Leopard Impala Junior Team machine.
Yeah, so the riders will be now in the box. David Alonso will be talking to his team, and Nico Terol will be telling him, great start, perfect getaway, you were doing exactly what you needed to do. Now he needs to do it all again from pole position when we get the restart. Yeah,
and as we say, we only did about a lap and a half, so I presume it will be a full restart when we do eventually get back underway. As you say, Elliot, Nico Terol in your box, he's a pretty good one to have as we do look to the garage there. So Nico Terol will be talking with David Alonso, and he can take that experience of situations like this where you've got hyped up before the start of a race. You built up the pressure, built up the momentum, and then all of a sudden you've had to come back into the garage and regroup and calm down and collect yourself again.
So there we see the marshals putting out the numbers on the grid, and we can see the number 84 in the second position, so that indicates that we are going to have a full restart on the grid that was decided in qualifying on Sunday.
Actually, Elliot, I believe it's from when they crossed the line on the first lap, because of course number 48 was Ivan Otolo, who was down in 9th place, and it looked at those there, they were placing him on 4th place on the grid, because here the pole position is on the left hand side, so it did seem as though it was the second row and that 4th place position.
Good spot then. I will stand corrected if that's the case. Quick restart procedure then, we're getting on our time screens. Pit lane open at a to be confirmed time for 60 seconds in the original grid positions, and then it will be a shortened distance of 10 laps.
So possibly I was wrong there. It does seem as though it is the original grid positions as we just see them coming over the hill. Not so much wheeling from these bikes. They haven't got a massive amount of horsepower, but they're still pretty quick. Well, good for well over 100 miles an hour, because they are only pocket little machines. They're very lightweight, so they do get up to that speed pretty quick. You see quite a big bump going through there. That would be upsetting. You'll feel that on these bikes. These machines are only tiny, so yeah, you'd certainly feel that one is quite a hefty impact as you go over it.
See the ambulance there for Oscar Almoral. Thankfully he's moving and talking to the guys. Wish him a speedy recovery. The 15-year-old Spaniard finished 16th in Estoril, just outside the points. But yeah, this track and these bikes, when you watch them on TV, you obviously know they're quick, but they're not that far off the Moto3 bikes, are they? And like you say, they are ridiculously loud. And to think there's 12, 13-year-olds riding them at over 100 miles an hour around this circuit in particular, this is a monumental circuit. To think that 12 and 13-year-olds are riding it like they do, it's amazing to see.
Yeah, it really is. We were walking the track yesterday and we were just discussing, when they designed this circuit, it's pretty much just let's see how daunting we can make a circuit. It really is it's a daunting place to be. Obviously, the riders, they revel the challenge. And when we were on that track walk, a couple of the ETC riders, I believe it was one of the Campiones guys, he came zooming past us on a scooter, all tucked in, going down the hill. So yeah, they're certainly enjoying this place. And as we say, they are tiny. Like these young 12-year-olds, what they can do on motorcycles is it really is. It beggars belief. They're fantastic.
It is astonishing, and all credit to them for going out and doing what they do, because they are really the talent of the future, and especially people like David Alonso, who will surely be moving up to the Junior World Championship in 2021 if he carries on this sort of form.
Yeah, well, of course, like we saw the ETC champion last year, Izan Guevara move up to Moto3 this year, and he's already made an impact. He did pretty well in Estoril, and of course from there, then it's the Moto3 World Championship or possibly European Moto2. And we've had 10 riders from 2019's Moto3 Junior World Championship move up to the fully fledged World Championship last year. As we just see Oscar being loaded into the back of the ambulance. He's moving and seems to be looking up, so positive signs as we see on screen there.
Yeah, let's hope it's not too bad of an injury and it's just a precaution for the medical team doing an expertly job. As always, as we see his bike getting towed back into pit lane. Still no confirmation on when we'll get the restart. Hopefully it won't be too long. All the grid markings are out on track, so the riders will come out of pit lane for 60 seconds. Well, the pit lane will be open, for 60 seconds. All the riders have to be out within that time limit, and they'll go round, line up on the grid. One member of their team will be on the grid just to give them a little check-up and say good luck. And then we'll go for a warm lap, and then we're back underway racing here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup for 10 laps. So it's a 10-lap dash for these boys now, instead of 15.
Yeah, as you say, reduced from that 15 laps, so 10 laps again. And hopefully we'll see another good start from Ivan Ortola, see if he can get up there in the mix. Another good one from Marco Tapia, wouldn't go amiss as well, because he really seemed to take to that first short race that we had. And we'll see if they can mix it up with the top guys.
Yeah, shame for Ortola really. He made a really good start, got up into second like you say, Jack, and now the race was rightly red flagged. And now I have to start from P9 again, but if he can do it in race 1, he'll be able to do it from the restart. So Ortola will be hoping he can attack turn 1 and attack first lap like he did just a few minutes ago, and hopefully for his sake he can challenge his teammate Alonso, who likewise will be hoping he can get the start that he had and try and pull clear of the rest.
Well, I'm sure he's probably even hoping to get an even better start, because it was, of course, Sander van Gorberg who flew off from the line and actually led into turn 1 before getting pipped around the first lap. But he'll be another one that's hoping to maintain his position. He actually slipped back to 4th, I believe it was, so he'll have to see if he can maintain that 2nd place. As we just see all the marshals lining out, ready to mark the rows of the grid, so the riders don't get confused. That's always one thing I've wondered being a rider. Whenever you come up to the grid, and say you're on like row 4 or 5, a little bit confusing to see which grid it was, you wouldn't want to line up on the wrong grid slot, would you? Because you'd probably get someone come up behind you and give you a big hit on the head, say, get out of my grid slot.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially when you're 12, 13, all you want to do is get to the grid and go racing, so I can imagine it's very easy for them to miss a grid slot or just not concentrate really. But these guys they're competing on the European stage, so they're well equipped. So there we go then, at the bottom of your screen, the quick restart procedure. Pit lane will open at 12:18, so that's about 3 or 4 minutes time for 60 seconds. 10 laps and original grid positions, and we will be underway. for the Hawkers European Talent Cup here in Portimao. The sun's shining, as you can see. You can see the heat waves coming off the grandstand at the back and off the track. This grandstand here is magnificent. It's absolutely huge, and unfortunately there is no fans here today, so we can't see it packed to the rafters with everyone cheering the riders on.
Yeah, the only person we actually have in the massive grandstand we do see before us is our cameraman watching them on the front straight. And it's quite funny, actually. We just saw him practicing before the races occurred and we went on air. He was just zooming his camera around to make sure he could keep up with the guys as they fly past him. So, yeah, plenty of practice getting in. Obviously, it's been a long time since any of us has done this on a regular occurrence.
Hopefully he can listen to us and pan in us, and we'll give him a quick wave. But I think that's actually the camera looking into the Leopard Impala garage.
Yeah, I believe so, as we see the bikes there. Just looking at the bikes, you see how tiny these things are. When you see them up close, the seat that the mechanic has just got his hand on there really is only about kind of 5 or 6 inches wide. It's a tiny thing. You know, I'm only a small man myself at 5'8", but I wouldn't fit very well on one of these things. It's they certainly are little pieces of art, these 250 Hondas.
Yeah, they are small, and we're definitely average height. We're not small. At 5'8", we're definitely average height. Let's just put that out there. There's the safety car rolling across the front straight as we focus in on the Aspar garage, and there is David Alonso, the number 80, getting his bike prepped to head back out on circuit. Just getting some last-minute refreshments on board, gathering his thoughts, ready again for the restart.
Yeah,
as we can hear the bike's getting revved up and ready to go.
Yeah, it seems quite cool, calm and collected, sat there in the garage. I'm sure it's nice. Sat in there, probably got a fan on him, ready to go. But here we go then, they're firing the bikes up. Tajiro Sacco already on his 74 Cuna de Campeones machine. As Alberto Ferrando swings the leg over his, ready for another good start again. Actually, he needs to get a slightly better start. He went backwards off the grid a little bit, slipped down to about 4th or 5th by turn 1, but then came through them again, back up into P3, and was in that battle for second place with the man on screen there, Ivan Ortola.
Here we go then. The riders are heading back out on circuit as we get set for the restart here in Portimao. The pit lane will be open for 60 seconds, so all the riders have got to get out quick before the time ticks down to 0.
Yeah, not a lot of time for them to get out. They don't want to miss it either, because they will start from the back of the grid, I believe, or is it pit lane? No, not
one of the two. Either way, it's not very good.
Yeah, certainly not. They won't be starting from their regular grid position anyway.
So then the riders back out, gathering their thoughts and getting some heat into their tyres, ready for the restart.
You just saw on your screens there Juan Rodriguez on the 38. He's the third one of the Cuna de Campeones machines. He had an okay start in that race, actually. He starts from 11th, and he was pretty quick this morning, actually. I believe he was around the top of the timing screens for the whole thing, and ended it up in about 4th. So he'll be another one to watch coming through them from 11th on the grid.
Yeah, you're right, Jack. He was 4th in warm-up. Incidentally, Julio Garcia next to him on the grid in 12th was 3rd in warm-up. So there's some good pace coming from row 4, and leading row 4 is Angel Piqueras, who had a stunning debut in Estoril. He was 5th in warm-up. So they've got good pace here this morning as row 4. So they can be hoping they can penetrate the podium battle, or even possibly the win.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out with Ortola and Alonso up front to see if they can break away or whether they'll just get held back in the battle. Of course, we saw in the first race in Estoril, Alonso seemed pretty comfortable. He pulled away from the pack, but in the second race it wasn't the same story. Although he did win in the end by, I think it was about a second and a half or so. He was certainly more challenged in the second race than he was in the first. So it seems that second round in, just the guys starting to get back into the groove of things. Of course, a long time off from racing these machines at full-on Grand Prix spec circuits. So, you know, we'll have to see if they can close in on the top guys.
Here we go, then rolling up to the grid. The first man rolling into his pit board as we see one member from each team standing there, and it'll literally be a couple of seconds asking if everything's all right, good luck, and then we'll be off on a warm-up lap. They come rolling past our commentary box window. There's number 38 of Sacco and the number 80 of David Alonso.
Yeah, and even just the rumble of these machines coming past that commentary box window is pretty loud. Pretty cool little machines, these things, as we're ready to get racing once again here for the Hawkers ETC.
Yeah, they are very trick machines. I'm going to ask you, because you're a lot more tech-minded than me, what is the main difference between these and the Moto3 bikes? I know these are a bit smaller and obviously a bit less powerful.
Yes. One of the other big things is the brakes on these. They have just a disc on the left-hand side, which is bigger than the Moto3 bikes, because the Moto3 bikes have 2 discs, one on each side of the front wheel, and they're slightly smaller.
Either way, they are too quick for me and you to go out and ride them weeds.
Yeah, definitely.
We wouldn't fare so well. Proves how talented these youngsters are. As we get ready then for the warm-up lap, and they're off and down into turn 1. We'll soon be racing again here in Portimao. The only race of the day for these young riders. So they've got to make it count in this restart if they're going to go to Jerez, which is coming up at the end of August. So a little bit of a gap for these guys. So they'll be wanting to end the opening 2 rounds on a high, so they can take some confidence away with them into round 3 at Jerez, where there will be 2 race days, in fact, and we'll be there, Jack.
2 race days will be there, and you have to say it'll be a little bit more comfortable in terms of temperature as well compared to the Grand Prix guys who will be there this weekend. We're looking on the weather forecast. Unfortunately, a few of our colleagues, well, fortunately and unfortunately, are flying to the Jerez circuit. And it's going to be about 38 degrees on Friday, so yeah. Good luck, apply the sunscreen and you'll be all right.
I don't think you'd fare very well with your fair skin there, Jack.
No,
lucky you're not going. Here we go then, over the crest, getting some heat into those tyres, track temperature up to 40 degrees. That's not too bad, to be fair. I think it was creeping up towards the 50 mark in the afternoon yesterday, which makes the track pretty greasy and will affect these guys more than anyone.
Yeah, certainly. We'll have to see how the times in the race compare to what they've been doing in QP and the free practices. But as you say, those slightly cooler track conditions, if you can call 40-degree track temperature cool, certainly will be helping these boys on the small little Moto3 machines.
Last sector then. Last chance to warm up your tyres, warm up the brakes, and get yourself prepared for the off. 10-lap dash coming up for the European Talent Cup guys around this magnificent ribbon of tarmac here, just 20 kilometres outside the city of Portimao on the Algarve. Here we go then, they're rolling up the hill. Zonta van den Gorberg rolls past our commentary box ahead, quite far ahead of everyone else actually.
Yeah, he's not one to wait around,
is he? He's keen to start, Zonta.
It's good, it's what you like to see from a young rider.
There he goes then, pulls up to P2 on the grid, and David Alonso, here he is, will be rolling up to P1. He'll be hoping he can get a little bit of a better launch than he did in the original race start. Zonta got the better of him into turn 1. But it looks like we're all set to go here in the Hawkers European Talent Cup in Portimao. There's number 54 for Randes. He'll be hoping for another good start, but that's the man they're chasing on pole. The red flag clears, the green flag waves in the background, and we're ready. There's someone holding their hands up at the back there. I've just noticed the yellow flags will be waving. But we are underway for the restart, and it's another good start from Zonta van den Gorberg, but it looks like David Alonso's got an even better one. He has, and who's that? It's another good start for the number 95 of Morelli. He's second now from the grid again. What a start, and who was it that had the hands up in the background of had to be wheeled off track? I'm not sure who that is, but we'll concentrate on the race for now, and it's David Alonso who takes the whole shot, and he leads the race, and now the riders behind have got a task on their hands to get in front of him if he's not going to stride away and win this race. Yeah, they certainly do. He's already pulled about 6 or 7 bike lengths out, as we see Alberto Ferrandez trying to recover again from a poor start from the front row of the grid. A poor start to say, well, he still is in third. It's just a little bit of a slow getaway. It seems that row 2 behind him also had a bit of a slow getaway, as we see Milan Pawelek just coming back out onto the grid. He must have been one of those ones that stalled on the grid. Yeah, we see that quite often here in the European Talent Cup. But we'll concentrate on the race. I'm just having a look to see where Ethan Guevara is. He's there in fourth, so it's another great start for the Spaniard, and he chases down the top three. Of course, it's got a little bit of a gap to the riders, but that will close up eventually. And thankfully for the riders behind, they've managed to stick with Alonso. I thought him getting the whole shot, he'll be off clear, but he looks like he's not getting away too easily on this first lap.
No, it doesn't seem to be. The number 95 of Morelli seems to really got the teeth dug in. He's trying to go with David Alonso here. They don't want anyone to try and get away. As we look back and see Marco Tapia again in fifth. It's another good start from him from eighth on the grid. He'll be looking to see if he can get his Leopard Impala machine up into the top three places.
Around the last corner then, a fantastic last corner it is as well. A long sweeping right-hander. These guys will be full throttle all the way around that, up the crest of the hill and across the finish line they go. And it's David Alonso leading. It's three-way fight for second place. And it looks like Ivan Ortola might be able to nick it off Morelli and Ferrandez. Who's going to break latest into turn one? It is Ivan Ortola. Great move there from the 15-year-old Spaniard, and he has gone from ninth on the grid to second in just over a lap, and he is now got his teammate well and truly in sight, but he's got to have to get the hammer down because Alonso's got another clear track in front of him, and we saw what happened in Estoril, Jack. That's not what they want.
No, certainly not. Hopefully this time Ivan Ortola can avoid getting any long lap penalties and can fight for the front in a fair fight. The man who should have been, well, I say should have, he started from second, maybe whether he was at second at the end of the first lap or not, but Zonta van den Gorberg's dropped all the way down to 8th place, so he's really not done his chances of coming through and winning this race any favours. I think he's actually just off the back of this little lead pack that we've got forming, with Adrian Cruchez in 7th, the man at the back of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's gone on with Zonta van den Gorberg. He got a good launch off line like he did in the original race start, but he has gone backwards again, so I don't know if he's struggling. Maybe it's tyre temperature, maybe it's fuel load, not quite sure, but let's hope for Gorberg's sake he can latch onto the back of Cruces in 7th place. But here we have it. Well, Ivan Ortola is the man chasing Alonso, and he's not quite getting away. Ortola's doing well, and he's dragging along the likes of Ferrandez, Tapia and Carpe with him.
Yeah, and just looking down the order as well, Elliot, Angel Piqueras, the young man on the Estrella Galicia bike, he's all the way down in 14th, so he's not had the best start to the race for him either. He's obviously, of course, a man that was mixing it up at the front in Estoril, so see if he can come through. We see the guys coming now, round now to complete the second lap. Just 8 laps to go, and blimey, that was a pretty good drive up at the final turn from Morelli there. I think he may have even pipped them to the line. Or not quite, he pipped one of them to the line, so he came out the final corner in 4th and made it to the line in 3rd. So it does just show if you get the correct run out there. As Adrian Cruchez has just gone down, as we were saying just a couple of seconds ago, that he was down in about 7th place. So disaster for him on the Cuna de Campeones bike.
Yeah, let's have a look what happened to Adrian Cruces, who also crashed in Estoril. What's happening here?
It looks like it's just...
Oh, that was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah, at first it looked like the bike stopped, and then I think he just got his handlebar caught by someone on the way through there, because he was really slow out the corner, so I'm not sure if the electronics just shut off and it just went. As we see flashing up on our screen, Matteo Volpi, number 77's a jump start, so 2 long lap penalties for him on the 658 Squadron course machine. That's a disaster for him, because he actually had a really good showing in Estoril.
Yeah, currently in 10th from Matteo Volpi, so that's his chances, you'd think, of a top 10 with little over 7 laps to go. But concentrating on the front, and it's David Alonso, he's edged out that gap on this lap. That's, well, it was 8/10 over line. It's certainly more than that now. It looks like he's edging towards the 1.5 second mark, and it's the number 95 of Morelli who's not got the better of Ivan Ortola.
Yeah, Ivan Ortola won't be too happy about this restart. Although he's got back through to the front guys, he's, you know, David Alonso has made the most of it, and he's pulled a gap on them just in this lap alone. The first sector, he took 7/10 out of Alberto Ferrandez, who's just slipped back to 5th actually. So he's had a really poor lap. He's trying to go around the outside of Marco Tapia on the Leopard machine. It's a pretty brave one coming up there over the hill.
Absolutely. So as Alonso crosses the line, then let's have a look at the gap back to, I think it's Morelli who got Ortola over the line. It is 1.4. So it's could be goodbye David Alonso again for the riders behind. And it's easy to say up here, Jack, that they shouldn't be squabbling over each other. They should just be getting to a line and concentrate on trying to catch Alonso. But these guys are youngsters, and all they want to do is race, and all they want to do is battle hard, and all they want to do is try and get as high as possible. So I don't think that's going to happen, but it's not going to help them to try and catch David Alonso, and that's good news for the number 80 out in front.
Yeah, certainly. It's a valuable point you raise, Elliot, because obviously a lot of these guys are extremely young, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old, and many of them haven't been road racing for many years. Some of them, this is even their first season on road racing, but you know, first you have to sharpen your skills as a racer and get fast, and then you learn about things such as racecraft and, you know, building your way up to drag a group to a front man.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on there. So let's have a look at the fight for second then. How many riders have we got in that? It looks like it's down to Zonta van den Gorberg, and there's a slight gap to Marcos Ruda. Or it could be Angel Piqueras now, the way I think it is. The timing screen is just a little bit slow,
yeah, well,
to catch up.
You'd have to say that both of those guys, Marcos Ruda and Angel Piqueras, they've already picked few off this last couple of laps, especially with Zonta van den Gorberg as well, who's just ahead of them in 7th. So those 3 guys, watch out for them coming up the order, because they are all extremely fast.
Yeah, they are. I'm just looking at Alonso's lap time here. In the first sector alone, he pulls out nearly 4 tenths on the chasing back, and then another couple of tenths in sector 2. We'll see what he does in the last sector, but it looks like he's going to extend his advantage at the front again. It could be close to 2 seconds as we cross the line. Let's have a look. He flashes past our commentary box window. The chasing pack do now as well. Let's have a look at the gap. It's 1.9 seconds, so yeah, another half a second pulled out on that lap for your race leader with 6 laps to go. The battle for second is raging on as Autódromo now loses out. He's down to 5th place, and it's now Marco Morelli, the man who started 6th, is up to second there on the number 95 Estrella Galicia.
Yeah, as Tapia just sits up Alberto Ferrandis there, caught him off guard a little bit. Alberto Ferrandis really, that's what we're talking by surprise, as he had to stand his Cuna de Campeones machine up and get out of Marco Tapia's way, but it doesn't seem to have deterred him, as he looks like he's going to come up the inside. Of course, he is only tiny, he's a tiny little man, a little pocket rocket, so on them straights, his lack of weight and stature is really going to help him, and as we see that, he's just blasted past Marco Tapia back into 3rd place again. Yeah,
the number 54 Ferrandis is in his debut season. He impressed in Estoril, as we mentioned, 2 third places, so he'll be hoping he can repeat that. He is in 3rd place now, but he's got a task on his hands to keep the riders behind. It's a proper good scrap here for 2nd and 3rd on the podium. That's what they'll all be aiming for. They obviously want P1, but David Alonso looks like he's clearing off out in front of us. Whoa, the number 13, what a move that is, late on the brakes, and he's got it to the apex. Fair play. 2.
Yeah, and just as you look down at your notes there, Elliot, Alberto Ferrandis has just dived up the inside of him through the fast left. Is now 13. Tapia comes back at him. So these guys trading positions, probably going to trade paint if they carry on this way. And all this is doing is allowing the 95 of Morelli and the 80 of Alonso to get further and further away. We've seen on this lap already the sector times are just about a 10th or 2 off each time from Morelli. So this scrapping it out for 3rd place isn't doing them any good in the long run. And certainly one man that will be watching this, and I don't know if he'll be laughing or getting annoyed, is Ivan Ortola, as he sees the top 2 positions get further and further away.
Yeah, Tapia's name just escaped him there for the moment, as we see Alonso dive down into turn 1. And I was going to say the number 95 of Morelli pulled a little bit of a gap, but I don't think he's going to hold that advantage for long, because the slipstream effect in the European Talent Cup is quite big, as we see Tapia again good at the inside of Ortola, who's making some great moves on the Leopard bike as we come up through turn 4 along the back straight, if you like, and dip down into turn 5. We're going to see him make a move here, not quite sure. Let's see if the number 13 pulls out to the inside. He does, but he's not quite close enough to 83. But the 83 of Alvaro Carpe runs slightly wide, but he holds it.
Yeah, Carpe promoted himself up to 3rd place, got a really good draft down the straight, and I think he picked off about 2 or 3 guys just in that one manoeuvre alone. So Carpe seems pretty streamlined. The straight seems to be one of his favourite hunting places. As we see them come back over the hill now, no one's going to go for a dangerous move through there. That would have been one that could have grated the hairs on the skin. We see Ivan Ortola, as now Marco Tapia goes for that same move again, and he just moves Alvaro Carpe out of the way and puts himself back up to P3. This lap hasn't been the kindest to Alberto Ferrandez, who slipped behind these guys, as I think, or not quite, Ivan Ortola tried to go for a move but thought better of it up into turn 13.
Yeah, nice little copy and paste move there from Marco Tapia. He's now in third place, chasing down Marco Morelli, who's hold that second place now for a couple of laps. He's looking strong there as the Estrella Galicia Talent Team rider. As we sweep around turn 15 and onto the start-finish straight, and as we cross the line, there will be only 4 laps to go as the number 83 of Alvaro Carpe challenges Tapia, and I think he's got him over the line. I don't think he quite got him over the line, actually. That's something we're going to have to watch out for, because this battle is certainly going to rage on until the last lap as Ortola breaks late there. He's sensational on the breaks down into turn 1 as Tapia is slightly wide. But how many riders have we got in this group then, Jack? A whole gaggle of them.
Yeah, there is a whole gaggle of them. I was actually just looking at it. It's all the way down to Marcos Ruda in 10th place. And then not too far behind them, actually, just less than a second, is Daijiro Sacco on one of the Kuno Campiones bikes and Harrison Voigt, the Australian, on the 658 Squadra Course machine. So if these guys keep holding each other up, because as we see, this group from second all the way down to 10th has closed up in the last few laps, the people in 11th and 12th, Sacco and Voigt, could well end up in this one.
Yeah, and I think they will with 3.5 laps to go. So there's the last lap comparison. Morelli not too far off the pace of Alonso, but not matching him. 0.2 a lap for Alonso is about what he's been doing, and it's enabled him to edge over 2 seconds clear as the battle for third rages on. And he's looking strong at the front of this group is Marco Morelli, as we see the number 62.
Yeah, that's Bly Trias who's gone down. That's unfortunate for him on the Art Box machine. Of course, Bly, he does quite a lot of dirt track, actually, so he's a man that's really got some skill on a motorcycle, so it's just a shame to see him DNF this race. Yeah,
that's unfortunate for the 13-year-old. I was just about to say the number 95 of Morelli is looking really strong at the front of this group. But I think you're right, Jack. I think if they keep scrapping, which they're going to do with 3 laps and a little bit to go, those 2 riders at the back of the group, it's Sacco and Voigt, are surely going to have a chance to mix it in the top 10. We'll wait and find out. Here we go then. There's going to be 3 laps to go as they cross the line. Alonso takes the line, and it's number 83 of Alvaro Carpe pulls out the slipstream and past Morelli. So Morelli loses second place for the first time in a couple of laps, and it's now Carpe who leads the group down in turn 1. There's a gaggle of riders there, all try and fight for positions into turn 1. That turn 1 is sketchy, and the downhill does make it very, very interesting indeed to make passes.
Yeah, it certainly does, and I think there's about 4 or 5 riders all trying to go into one line there, turn 1. As we look back and saw Zonta van den Gorberg, he actually made a couple of moves on the straight, but then I think it was Marco Tapia said, no, not having it, mate, and he dived straight back up the inside of him and moved him wide at turn 1. Just picking up on van den Gorberg, actually, himself, Rodriguez and Angel Piqueras, they're just at the back of this group. They haven't made a massive amount of progress coming through. They were before they were on the back of the group, a couple of attempts quicker each lap than these guys, but it doesn't seem to be that they've got the pace to try and fight their way through. We'll have to just keep an eye on it in the last 2.5 laps as they start to get down to crunch time.
The good thing for those riders is they're in the perfect position to pick up the pieces if these guys in front start squabbling, which they inevitably will. And if anyone runs wide, turn 1's a classic place to run wide, and when we're heading into the last 2 laps, which we will be doing very shortly, they're all going to be wanting those top 2 positions. But it's this man who's in the top 1 position for the 3rd straight race in a row. He's coming around the last corner, and he will cross the line with 2 laps to go with a healthy advantage of around 2.5 seconds. But this is where the real battle is at. Those top 2 positions there, keep an eye on those as we see. Wow, what a move.
Yeah, Tapia just diving up the inside. You saw the front end moving and bobbling about all over the place, but he still got it done. Just hanging onto the throttle, keeping it wide open. He doesn't care if it moves around, as long as he gets the job done, it's all fine. So yeah, Marco Tapia looking like he's a pretty spectacular one in the midst of this battle. As we see Angel Piqueras, I believe that is, the tiny little pocket rocket, just moving up into 5th or 6th place, I believe that was. He's just behind Alberto Ferrandez now.
Oh, not quite. I thought Tapia was going to go from 4th to 2nd there, taking 2 riders in one, but he couldn't quite keep it stick. It looks like Tapia is sensational on brakes. I mentioned Ortola on the brakes, but Tapia looks like he's the one that's got the job done on the brakes. And as we're talking on the brakes, here we go down into turn 5. The left-hander, is Tapia going to make it stick? That's going to get close on the exit. It looks like Morelli could keep it. I think he has. Oh, I think there was a little bit of contact there between the 2 riders. Is Tapia going to go for move at the inside? I think he is.
Of course he is.
Absolutely. Classic racing here, but he's ran wide, so I think Morelli's going to get the run down the hill as they come over the crest. Here he is. This is a cracking little battle as Ortola goes for the move at the inside. That's a brave move there, and Ortola thinks better of it.
Yeah, watch Alberto Ferrandez here. Oh, well, actually,
Tapia,
watch
that's his favourite move.
That really is. That is the Tapia corner, that one, isn't it? He's done it every single lap, I think. I think on the last lap he actually got 2 of them there. But as we see now, wow. Trying to hold it around the outside of him, but Tapia's not having it. He just blocks the line. Oh, no, he doesn't. He goes wide, outbrakes himself. So he's undone all his hard work in the last lap and a half, and he's lost 3 places.
Poor.
No, of course not, because he's dived on the inside of Ferrandez.
This is sensational racing in the Hawkers European Talent Cup as the team look tentatively on, hoping he doesn't crash out. But what a ride from all these riders, not just Tapia. He's the one making all the audacious moves, but Alonso's just about to take the line. Then he goes on to the last lap, and what a last lap we're in for the final podium positions here in Portimao in the Hawkers European Talent Cup. Here's one of the best places to overtake down into turn 1 as we come God knows how many abreast, about 6 abreast, and it's the Estrella Galicia bike of, who is that? That's Marco Tapia, I think. No, it's not, sorry, that's the Leopard bike. Into third place. There's David Alonso. He's going to have a gentle ride round, but it's going to be anything but for this whole gaggle of riders that they're fighting for those top 2 positions currently occupied the 2 Estrella Galicia Talent Team bikes.
Yeah, and Piqueras has eventually picked his way through. So Piqueras has pickpocketed the lot of them, and he's all the way up through into 3rd. Actually, no, he's not, because Alberto Ferrandez and Marco Tapia, no, not quite. They've got something to say about it. So as soon as he was through into 3rd, he's now back to 4th again.
Oh, what a race this is, and what a last lap we're in for. Not sure Tapia's going to be close enough this time around to make up a position. No, he's not.
Yeah, and one thing as well, Elliot, we were saying about Voigt and Sacco, they're actually on the back of this group now. We haven't even noticed that one. So if there is any, shenanigans, as we say, they could pick up a few places there on the last lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go then. Ferrandez, last lap time. There is Tapia again. It's his corner, and he makes it stick, or does he? He runs slightly wide, but I think he's going to have the inside line over Piqueras. But no, Piqueras around the outside. He carried some serious speed there.
Yeah, that was brave stuff from the young lad there.
Right, here we go then. Last sector time, and it's the number 95 of Marco Morelli who leads the battle for the podium position. But it's that man there who's got a nice 3-second lead. He'll come round the final corner, and it's going to be hat-trick time for David Alonso. But let's see who's going to pick up the last 2 podium positions. It looks like it's going to be Ferrandez and Morelli if nothing changes. But who's going to get second? It's a run to the line. I think Fernandez is going to get it. Oh, that's very, very close. But it is Ferrandez who takes second place, but the number 80, no one can stop him. Once more, it was David Alonso who takes his 3rd straight victory.
Yeah, cracking race that. If there was ever an advert needed to watch European Talent Cup racing, just clip, well, all 10 laps of that race. It was absolutely brilliant. From 2nd all the way back to 12th in the end. They were just covered by 2 seconds. And yeah, box office stuff. Great stuff from the youngsters here in FIM CEV Repsol.
Absolutely spot on there, Jack, and David Alonso takes the plaudits as he absolutely should. As I say, a 3rd straight victory for the 14-year-old Colombian. It's been an absolutely sensational start to the 2020 season. Ferrandez there, the number 54. It's been a sensational start to his season as well. He's understandably happy because that's his 3rd straight podium, and that's his best finish with P2. He edged out Morelli to the line. That was close. 18 thousandths of a second was the gap between them. It doesn't get much closer than that. There he is, the number 54, Cuna de Campeones man. A great debut season so far for Alberto Ferrandez. Like I say, his best finish as they pop some wheelies over the hill. And a shout out goes out to Marco Morelli in 3rd as well. That's his best finish in the Hawkers European Talent Cup. He finished 4th in Estoril, so he's gone one better here down the coast in Portimao. There he is, the number 95, along with your race winner David Alonso. Cracking race from both of those riders. Marco Morelli raced in Spanish pre-Moto 3 in 2019. Was on to Van den Gorber there, pulls a nice little wheelie. He finished 8th on the Team Superb Honda. Not quite as good as he went in Estoril, but nevertheless a good top 10, and that's no mean feat in the European Talent Cup. All these riders at the front have got a really special talent, and we'll be seeing definitely a few of these on the world stage very, very shortly, you'd imagine. Especially that man, number 80, David Alonso. How impressive has he been? Amazing starts of the season. Pole in Estoril, 2 wins in Estoril, and then he had pole position here in Portimao, and he's taken the race victories today. Congratulations from his team, all 3 riders in Parc Ferme, and they'll now be looking ahead to the end of August for round 3 of the FIM CEV Repsol Championship. But if you keep a keen eye on the Red Bull rookies, you'll be seeing that man in that championship. Their opening round is in Austria, and he'll surely be a contender along with his teammate Ivan Ortola in that championship. The Aspar boys really doing well at the start of 2020. You'll be hearing from David Alonso. He'll be speaking to Jack Gort, who's made his way down to Parc Ferme to speak to your race winner. Congratulations all round. Morelli and David Alonso congratulating each other. There's Ferrandez, the 12-year-old. Like we say, it's amazing to see how young these riders are and just how brave they are around a circuit like Portimao. It really is a challenging circuit. And these young riders really put on a fantastic show, as they always do in the Hawkers European Talent Cup. So they'll debrief with their teams. Quick debrief, get some important water on board. It is scorching here on the Algarve coast. Temperatures rising up to about 33 degrees. So important to get some water on board before they go up to the podium. Here's a replay. I think this is the final sector of the final lap. And this is how it was decided. It was those 2 there at the front of that group. As David Alonso crossed the line to take his 3rd victory of the year. There's the Aspar team leaning over the pit wall, and here's how close the finish was for 2nd and 3rd. Look how tight that is. Does not get much closer than that, and you can see just from the naked eye Ferrandez pipping Morelli to P2 and P3. Stunning rides from all 3 riders on the podium, and all the other riders really. 4th went to Angel Piqueras. Marco Tapia was 5th. Ivan Ortola might be slightly disappointed with 6th, but he started 9th, so he's made up 3 places, so it's nothing to be disappointed about. Marcos Ruda was 7th. As I mentioned, on to Van den Gorberg was P8. 9th was Juan Rodriguez, and Alvaro Carpe, who was in the hunt for the podium, eventually finished in 10th place. So we'll be hearing from David Alonso shortly, and there he is down with Jack Gorst. Let's hear what he has to say.
David Alonso, 3 wins from 3 in 2020. You look pretty comfortable out front.
Yes, I'm very happy. Another win. This is so good for the championship. Incredible race. We could do a good pace, and we could make a distance. Well, thanks to the team that they support me a lot, and also my family. And now we are ready to Jerez.
¿Y en español?
Ha sido una muy buena carrera, lástima la bandera roja, pero bueno, al final hemos podido salir y me ha ido mejor e incluso me he podido escapar, he podido mantener un ritmo e irme. La tercera victoria es muy bueno para el campeonato, estamos muy contentos y bueno, también gracias al equipo por todo lo que hace y a mi familia.
Congratulations, David. ETC winner in Estoril, Portugal.
Thanks.
Here we go then, highlights of the race. We've just seen the restart and it was on to Van den Gorberg who got the initial launch off the line. But he wouldn't hold that place for long as the number 95 of Morelli took the lead, but it wouldn't be long before your eventual race winner David Alonso took over at the front. Here he is going down into turn 5 and that was the race winning overtake. He never looked back from there, edged slightly clear of his chasing pack, and that was before the red flags came out. But on the restart, again it was another good start from Zonta van den Gorberg, but it was this time David Alonso who got the whole shot into turn 1. And that was that. There were some troubles there, but no such troubles for that man out front as the battle for the podium raged on. Morelli always looked pretty comfortable there, sitting in second place for most of the race, as Ferrandez, Tapia and Ortola battled hard. Going down the hill there, what a move that was from Ferrandez. We saw some absolutely outstanding moves from all the riders in that battle for the podium. David Alonso had no battle to contend with. He was just able to get out front and ride his race, as we saw turn 1, classic overtaking opportunity down the hill. And this was the battle with a couple of laps to go mark. Tapia and Morelli going fairing to fairing. And there's Ferrandez moving into third place, up inside Angel Piqueras, but it was that man number 80 who won for a third straight race in a row. Ferrandez just pipping Morelli on the line to take second in another fantastic Hawkers European Talent Cup race. What a season for Alonso, and what a season we've seen from all the riders in the European Talent Cup in 2020. Here's the rundown of the results then. There's David Alonso, your winner by 2.2 seconds over Ferrandez, who just nicked second place off Morelli. Angel Piqueras, Marco Tapia, Ivan Ortola, Ruda, Van den Gorberg and Rodriguez. We are top 9, all of them were battling out for that final podium position in that 10-lap scrap. Further down it was Alvaro Carpe, Harrison Voigt just finishing outside the top 10, Daijiro Sacco was also just outside the top 10, and then Colin Veja was 13th. Further down, Matteo Volpi, Dean Berta, Romeo Sandoval, Mario Meyer, Pedernal, Rulstone, Perrin and Mizera rounded out the top 25. Shariel Jiggaloff, Tyler Scott the American, Torin Collins, Bernal, Lapierre, Porlek, and then Julio Garcia and Fockert didn't finish. Here we go then, time for the podium. Jack Gorse has joined me back in the commentary box.
Yeah, it's even warmer out there now, I can tell you that.
In the second place,
third place then for Morelli. He takes the third step on the podium. Here comes Ferrandez. He's getting used to being on the podium as well, the 12-year-old. And talking to get used to being on the podium, David Alonso takes the first step for the third straight time.
Yeah, pretty impressive in that race. He was obviously miles out front of everyone else. He's going to have to go back and watch that one, I believe, because that was an absolute cracking race. He'll have to go back and watch and see all the action behind him, as he was, well, was he in the end about 3.5 seconds out front. Alberto Ferrandez, that's a man you're going to have to keep your eyes on in the future. He seems to be a real star. One that's, you know, only in his first year of the ETC as well. Just 12 years old, so, you know, massive future ahead of him. There's the €250 check for David Alonso. Certainly every little help. So there you have it then. The Colombian national anthem plays and ETC is done here in Portimao. They'll roll on to Jerez next time out. 2 race days there, of course, 2 in 2 days. So it's going to be a big weekend for everyone, not just the ETC guys, but for all of them. Pose for the photographs. Big smile, make sure the sponsors are in the shot. Make sure everyone's happy. Coming up after these guys, we do have Moto3, the Junior World Championship. And by all means, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a battle between those guys. But anyway, here's the championship standings. No surprise, David Alonso on top, the same as Yanni Montoya, 3 wins out of 3. With Alberto Ferrandez in 2nd place, looking like he's a real championship contender. Ivan Otola, Angel Piqueras, Marco Morelli, Marco Tapia after his move to Tapia Corner at turn 11. We might have to rename that one. Zonta van den Goberg in 8th. Filippo Fagioli is in 10th. Daijiro Sacco 11th. Alvaro Carpe in 12th. Juan Rodriguez, Harrison Voigt, the Australian, in 14th. Julio Garcia, Jacob Rollstone, another Australian, and Andrea Cruces, who unfortunately crashed out of that race there in 17th. Noah Detwiller, the Swiss rider, in 18th. Dean Berta, Colin Vaya, Hugo Milan, Philip Ton, and Justin Foucault are the last point scorers in this 2020 championship so far. So then, as we turn our focus to Moto3, the pit lane will open at 1 o'clock, which is just under 3 minutes time here, and the race will start at 1:15. So if you want to go and get yourselves a little snack or a drink, by all means, you've got just a few minutes to go and do that in before we get underway with the 3rd class on the day. But anyway, ETC was all about that man there, the Open Bank Aspar team rider, David Alonso, the championship leader and the dominant force in Hawker's European Talent Cup in 2020.